Welcome to Fine Art for All. My name is Barbara Mendes. Tonight's show is on the topic of autobiography. The show is going to be about my own life story based on my painting Autobiography and another early painting called Restless Ride to Rialto. The show will also feature a role in which we've created as a tribute to Annie. My daughter, Oma Annie Kunstler, died on November 14th, 2006, after an incredibly long struggle, which was a big part of my life. And you'll see her in the life that's portrayed in the paintings. And also I made a little roll-in based on a song that, as you know, I like to do songs. And one song, Rocking Boat, I always sang to Annie. And I sang it to her especially at the end in the ICU. And I sang it to her to the very end. And I thought I would record the song and create a tape based on photos of Annie's life. And our roll-in is a little crude, it's a little funny, but I hope that you look into the child's eyes and see her life. Because Annie was a normal child, but when she was only 2.5, she was diagnosed to die in 1 year. Instead, she lived to be 36 years old. And this show is my tribute to Annie. So I'm going to begin by talking about a work I completed in 1977. This painting is called Restless Ride to Rialto, and it's behind me in the studio. And it begins with a very allegorical way of looking at my life story, where I've made kind of symbols to show different periods of my life and to show the events in my life. The actual narrative begins on the very far upper left-hand corner with, again, a very symbolic version of my marrying my first husband, Rick, and the way we went out west. And here in this canoe, it's symbolizing having our 2 children. Annie was a double Leo, so the lion. And then we traveled more, and it's symbolized by riding on the horse. And this fish symbolizes the birth of our second daughter, Kirby. Now, in this large bird's feathers are more autobiographical scenes. This is San Francisco Bay. You see the bridges of San Francisco. And this is where we moved in 1970 and where my daughter Annie was born. She was born with the name Oma. I was an underground cartoonist at the time in the early comics movement in the 70s. And I needed a monumental name for a strip, and I made up the name Oma. And I named her Oma. And later in her life, she changed it to Annie. Now, this scene over here really captures our life in the woods. If you can come into a close-up of this entire area. Here we see our cabin in Thompson Creek Meadow. And we see, here's Mom, that's me, washing the diapers in the stream in Thompson Creek. And you can see our beautiful horses, Windy and Yami. We lived in a meadow. And overlooking the meadow were 3 peaks. And the tallest peak was Kirby Peak. And that's what we named our second daughter, Kirby, for Kirby Peak. Now, along about this time, some friends of my aunt gave us a Rambler station wagon. So we went to New York to show off our new babies to our family. When we got this entire bird represents New York City. You're going to recognize the skyline, and I'm going to show you something very special. But in terms of the story of the painting, the dragon symbolizes the fact that Annie was diagnosed with fatal brain cancer during this trip. So we didn't go back to the woods. In our rubber boots and our hippie clothes, we went to the radiotherapy department of Columbia Presbyterian, and we lived in Staten Island for a while we were waiting for what we were told was to happen. Now, as I told you, I did this painting in 1977, and it is dated. Now, I've traveled back and forth, and sometimes my paintings get rolled up to go along. This painting was rolled up. It was rolled up under a futon for several years, and then I needed some more things on the wall, so I paid some people to professionally stretch this piece so that I could display it. When I came to pick up the piece, the fellas who did it said, "Barbara, you've got to take a look at this." Now, Albert, try to zoom in on this little detail that I'm pointing to. This is obviously the Twin Towers, and I have an airplane going right into the Twin Towers, painted in 1977. So that's one of the strange miracles of my paintings. Now, the story of the painting follows that Annie didn't die. She refused for a long time, as you know. So we moved back to California in 1976. And that's why the title is Restless Ride to Rialto. And here you see the family as it was then, with Annie wearing her little hat, and Rick, and me, and Kirby. And we're riding a dog, and inside the dog is the Inland Empire, where we lived in Rialto, and the road going to Los Angeles. And on the very bottom, we're looking for green pastures here. So I hope that these horses would lead us, and we would find. And I must say that my life has found green pastures. Now I'm going to look at the large painting, Autobiography. This painting was painted in 1994, so we're now talking in 2006. So the last 12 years are not in this picture. The last 12 years have been filled with the Judaism, which I've shown in the art, which I've shown on the other shows. And also you'll see a lot of the Judaic art when you stay tuned for my outro tape at the closing credits. This story tells the story of my life, this painting, starting again from the top. I was born in Montclair, New Jersey in the snowstorm of '48. I was born on the very day that Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated, January 30th, 1948. The movie begins with that date. And I lived in Montclair. There was another third child who was retarded and put away forever. So that's an opposite story from Annie, who remained so close to me. Here I am playing with my toys in Montclair. And here I am learning to row with my grandfather, Pop. And here I am, my favorite memory of ever is going to the park with my Nana, Montclair Park. This is Edgemont Park in Montclair, New Jersey. And you see the black swans and the white swans. And you'll see this theme recurring whenever I really want to express happiness. But we moved to New York. We moved to Brooklyn. And when we moved to Brooklyn Heights, there were still horse-drawn vegetable wagons. And each vegetable dealer would call out, oh, apples, tomatoes. And you'd know he was there. Now, Bobby, that's what they called me, always liked to play with her setups. So here I am playing with my setups. And this is my very best friend, Cindy, and she's still my best friend. We're in close touch. Now, my family used to go camping in the summers, and here we are at Saranac Lake with our canoe. And here I am playing again with my toys, my little setups outside our tent. And this is a trip that we took in about '62 or something to California on the Trans-Canada Highway in a 1950 Chrysler, and we're admiring the scenery. And now Barbara's starting to grow up a little bit. This is my first kiss on the promenade of Brooklyn Heights with the skyline in the background. Here I am attending the High School of Music and Art. And here I am going to working in the summer, Visual Arts Film School. I met my husband, Rick. And here we are, and we got married. And then we moved to California. Painting goes over here. And I got pregnant with Annie. And here we are climbing the Twin Peaks with Oma as a baby. Oma Annie, same person. And the story from here goes to Wonder. We were in San Francisco, and we picked Wonder on the map. And we went to Wonder, Oregon. And when we were in Wonder, life was totally beautiful. We only had one possession each of the things you need in life. And we had this little Nuke Gulch Creek, which I believe I mystically went into the mikveh for. Without knowing, I immersed right before becoming pregnant with my second daughter, Kirby. Here we are in that mountain that I spoke about before with the 2 horses in the meadow under the 3 mountains. And then, well, actually, we tried to go down to Mexico, and we made it as far as Phoenix. And that's kind of a funny story. And we came back to Oregon, and I gave birth to Kirby. And we lived in a trailer park house. And then we had a 17-acre farm, which we rented first for $35, then for nothing, free. Here we are. All the neighbors brought their beautiful horses to board at our farm. And there was a pond, and there was a dam.